Okay, great. Okay. I think we'll just have to get started, and because I don't want to keep people waiting. So, Galina, do you want to start with your presentation?
Yeah, I am going to make an effort at sharing my screen. I warn you, it took me a wee while earlier today at a meeting, so my IT skills, I've usually got one of the Jameses to support me doing this, but today, because I'm at home, I'm a bit on my own. Okay, so tell me when you can see my screen.
Yeah, that's out there, Julia.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so, first of all, thank you for Ross for putting this event on, and thank you very much for coming, and listening to us. I think, first and foremost, DYW gets banded as maybe a programme all on its own, but what we all have to be very mindful of is each and every one of us responsibility to make sure we are developing the young workforce, ensuring there are pathways and opportunities for them in the days and years to come. We live in currently very fragile times. I see, Julie, you're here from the hospitality industry. We spend a lot of our time supporting what is probably one of your most challenging times with reopening up after COVID, after furlough, and even finding staff being such a challenge. So I think from where we were this time last year to where we are now, the landscape is very, very different. And in many ways is giving us more of a job to do. We thought that we'd be sitting this time last year, that we'd be sitting here today wondering what we were going to do with all the young people, but that it's a bit different. There's an abundance of opportunity out there. So we have to encourage, inform and support our young people to take up these opportunities. So the only way I feel we can do this is by doing it collectively. So the more you know about the offer we have and the employability offer and the support offer across the islands, whether it's through the DYW, the accredited training or the local employability partnership, it's really important that we talk, we support one another and we take a partnership approach to all employability support and services. So, I just want to take this opportunity and I apologise for anyone who has heard I always feel as if I'm a minister in the pulpit, heard my speech before, but I am passionate about the needs of young people. I'm absolutely passionate about making sure that there's opportunities for them to live, learn and earn, which has very much become our mantra in our islands, but also for opportunity for either young people or people to come and live here. So, you'll get a flavour of that throughout my presentation. But, I really just wanted to go over the outcomes of the team. I wanted to give you an overview of where our employability and apprenticeship programmes have come and what we've achieved, over the last few years, but more importantly, where we want to go. I've worked in employability for the authority for over 20 years, and the COAN has supported these programmes across the islands for many more years than that. For those of you of a certain age, initially, supporting young people through the employability fund and through our SDS funded apprenticeship programmes. But those of you who are similar to myself will remember the old Get Ready for Work, the Skill Seekers and the YTS schemes. But now we can evidence many of our senior managers came into employment that way and have grown with the organisation. These programmes get revamped and renamed over the years, but the principle remains the same. It's to give employability support and opportunity to young people. Within the accredited training team, we supported 5 frameworks for years. Why? Well, it's what we always did. This was changed dramatically about 5 years ago. We came under a council restructure. we were, for my 20 year in authority, every time there's been a council researcher, nobody really knew where we belonged. So there's not a department in the council that I haven't sat in. So 5 years ago, we again moved. I can't even remember what department I was in at the time, but we went into the Chief Exec's department. The council has a matrix management approach. So even though you may sit in one department, you support and serve every department. At the time, Brother Chisholm was head of education. We'll all always remember him for his passion and his vision. Well, he shook the very core of our foundation, and we looked at the workforce development needs of the authority. You know, there had been the first round of government cuts, so many jobs were lost. But the biggest loss in all that was the level of skills and expertise that walked out the door. So we looked at who was leaving in 3, 5, 10 years. And we, at the time, put 58 apprentices in to cover the skills gap and make sure that the skills was not lost. And as I said, at the time, I supported 5 frameworks, and they were predominantly to support our workforce development, being health and social care and childcare and business. But we were faced with up to 30 different vocational routes. I did say to Bernard at the time that he was having a laugh, but the outcome of that was I found it incredibly easy to find the accreditation. We're all about local delivery, so the first protocol was always to our local college. If that wasn't possible, we then went up island, and because I don't know, somebody's not muted their mic, but there's somebody's ruffling papers, and I don't know if everybody's hearing me. Is that better? Yeah, so it was incredibly easy to find, you know, an accreditation route for all the different frameworks that were coming online. But the diversity of qualifications, you know, it was really due to our own findings during the recruitment process. You know, we found that people of all ages and stages were applying for these posts, you know, for numerous reasons. Either they didn't want to go to the mainland to attend university, or they wanted to return home following a period of absence to attend university, or they wanted to come and crave out a different lifestyle in the islands. So what we did was we stopped trying. I mean, I put all these posts out at SVQ. I put them out at SVQ because that was my background. So we started matching the person to the post rather than the post to the person rather than the person to the post. So some people came in, they already had a degree, so we put them through a master's. Others, you know, had no vocational background, so we would start them on SVQ. And, you know, if any of you are working with the schools, you'll be familiar with the Pupil Equity Fund, which is our PEP apprentices. They're now 5 years in employment. They started off on their SVQ and they are now just about to finish their degree. So we're now seeing the fruits of that programme coming to fruition. Those that are on degree are just coming to an end. But I think the best thing about that programme is the way we can evidence that they all went into a job. So, you know, I do feel the Cornwallis Apprenticeship Programme is one example of real best practice, you know, in terms of training and retraining young people on our islands. You know, providing them with a sustainable lifestyle, you know, that we so crave. I'm just going to switch this back on. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Probably talking too much and not concentrating. I'll just take you to the next screen when I try and get this on. This screen gives you a real overview of the diversity of qualifications that we took back in 2018. So, you know, the attainment I've spoken about. You know, business has always been a key element of our delivery, but we really started delivering from SVQ3 right through to degree level, depending on where the participant was coming into the programme. and you'll see the numbers there as well. So at the time, and to this day, the numbers of young people we support are, because workforce development is a huge element of our programme, the overall number of staff that we ensure reach qualifications so they can register with the SSSC either in childcare or social care. So there's, creative industries, engineering, events. So what we're doing now is we're really looking at the work we put into the Coles workforce development and going out to people like yourselves, going out to the private sector to say this can be done. What's your ask? We need to know what your ask is so that we can work with you to ensure that comes to fruition, so that you can support young people on a progression pathway that meets the needs of your organisation, but also meets the needs of the young people that are coming through. Just going to try and get this back on. Okay, so the next slide really gives you an understanding of, over the last 18 months now, it's been really challenging for all of us. COVID has had such an impact, but luckily the Scottish Government acted early and additional grant funding was implemented to support, what we thought then would be impending levels of youth employment. So with this additionality, we worked collectively as a team and we developed the Western Isles Employability Pipeline. This allows participants to be referred to the pipeline at a place that really meets their individual needs. So for example, they'll come on through the No One Left Behind or the Young Person Guarantee. That's really for those that are furthest away from the job market, and we're able to provide additional key worker one-to-one support to provide employability and sector skills qualifications to provide them with the knowledge and the experience to move into the workplace. We started work with pupils as young as 14 on shared timetables. So, for example, through our, especially our community benefit clauses, where we have capital bills and we work with organisations to ensure that they provide employability opportunities for young people. So, the care home site at Stornoway is an example that we're hoping to follow with the Barra complex when it starts, in whatever form it will start in. So, through the McLaughlin Harvey site, we were able to give sector skills talks in construction to primary schools, to secondary schools. We were able to take secondary school pupils on site. And we did a shared timetable pilot with 8 pupils who were school either due to leave school in December or school refusers came on site, and from these 8, 7 have signed up to a full apprenticeship. So it really proved that these things work. They engaged with their mentors on site, they engaged with the work they were given, and they've successfully gained apprenticeship placements in the construction industry. The apprenticeship family has been our main focus over the past 20 years, but this has really been expanded, to meet the needs of the community. Now, we don't just support 16 to 19-year-olds, we support young people as young as 14, and we have no upper age limit. So, for example, we have the foundation apprenticeship offered in our senior phase pupils in school, and is giving them the opportunity, to gain real work experience with local businesses, with the support of tutors who gain the knowledge required for certification. So this goes on to equip them to move to either a modern apprenticeship, straight into employment, or onto a graduate apprenticeship or into further higher education. Every apprenticeship that we offer is linked directly to the need of our employers. So the modern, apprenticeship programme and the ESF funding has met the Coles workforce development needs for many years, as I was saying, in childcare, business and social care. But we're now supporting business in the community. And this is quite evident in your own community. We've got a young girl in the Harris Distillery going through her distillery qualification Jamie in Essence O'Harris has a huge number of young people and is quite an ambassador for supporting young people in the workplace. And there's also BASF. But I think what we have to be mindful of, it's very very, very easy to support the larger businesses. They've got the infrastructure in place, they've got the HR, they've got the payroll. We're 90% micro businesses. So how are we going to ensure that they get the same opportunity, that they get the same support as the larger organisations? So to support that element, we've recently developed a social enterprise. It's called the Erdis Trust. So the goals of the Erdis enterprise is to provide, an employability pathway through the apprenticeship family. Is to provide high-level opportunity through an accredited bespoke pathway. To bring together our public, our private, and our third sector expertise, and to centrally focus on community resilience. Our communities are everything to us. We want to reach out to the diverse elements of the community who face social exclusion, rurality, and create a strong, sustainable workforce for all. To successfully create a workspace that will host organisations and provide people with the right skills at the right time that meets the needs of the community and the employer. That's one of our mantras. It's, to work with the employer to make sure that the young people are being given the right skills at the right time to meet the skills gaps in our communities. To create a centre of excellence where people can learn and become equipped to transform the communities that we serve, and support the apprenticeship family, which is at the heart of everything we do. We do a personalisation and choice exercise every day, every year. That's run in correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, I think if I remember right, it's 3rd and 5th year, where we go out to the community, we ask all our employers what they think their skills needs are now, what they are in 2-3 years. We take that information back to our young people and we actually ask them what they would like, what their thoughts are, what they would like to see the curriculum, and how would they want that curriculum amended. And that is how we took the foundation apprenticeship into the schools for the very first time. It was engineering, which was always the highest ask from young people. But, we all know it's not an employment that we have on the islands, but it's a huge employer where people base their lives here, their income comes back here, their families are here, and they commute. So we have to remember that there's more, especially going forward as we look at green energy and the renewable and the different infrastructures that are going to be in and off island. Progression is everything within the employability pipeline. It's coming on where you feel you want to, but it's dipping out where you want to be as well. Whether you want to come in, have these support services, get your qualification after your apprenticeship and go straight into employment, or if you want to go on to a graduate or degree level apprenticeship. And as I said, we've got great examples of what can be done. One of them is Alistair MacLeod. He was an engineering apprentice with us. He's recently just left. He's gained a full-time job with Scottish Power. But Alistair left the island to carve out a career in the RAF. Wasn't away that long when he really realised all he wanted to do was come back on island, but he wanted really to get that opportunity. So when he saw the graduate apprenticeship programme in engineering, he applied for it and got it. He moved home, but at the time he had recently got engaged to his fiancée, who was from the island, was a teacher in Edinburgh. She came home. They've now built a house, got married, and have a wee boy. So it's a really nice example of one of the outcomes we've always craved from the apprenticeship programme. So, we're now supporting all ages, all stages. The government has recently reported that up to 50% of our children live in poverty. In work poverty is now a huge, huge, huge issue. So to support this, the government has awarded us, funding to support families to upskill and reskill participants to ensure that they have got the right skills, the right knowledge, and the right expertise to move into the jobs that are available in our communities, but also to raise our children out of poverty. So, we have a huge range of different programmes. We've got No One Left Behind, which is the barriers to progression. the Young Person Guarantee, which is implementing the 4 Scottish Government key policies, which I know Ross has got on the agenda and he'll talk about later. We've got, the apprenticeship family, the bespoke apprenticeship family, because if something's not there and it just because it's not in a recognised programme, it doesn't mean we can't do it. We've got a lot of short duration training to meet industry specific training. We do that through the Employability Fund stage 4, where if there is a need, we can upskill and retrain people through short duration training. And we've got the Parental Employability Support Fund and the Disabled Employability Support Fund, which is designed to upskill and reskill parents to address barriers to work. And the PACE, we've got PACE, so if there is a PACE situation, which was, again, we were impending, but we haven't had the levels we thought we were going to have, we have support that we can put in place to support them. So why? Well, accreditation, it works towards a highly skilled, highly accredited workforce for all. It gives everybody opportunity. Equality, parity of esteem, just because Jan Stewart's not here, I have to use his words. And equality of provision for all. Opportunity, we want to give young people the opportunity to move into high level opportunities, either straight from work or straight from school, or whether return following their university experience. We want to ensure that all you as employers, that you can recruit the right people with the right skills at the right time that meets your own organisational needs, but gives them that progression pathway they desire when they go into the workplace. There's no getting away from it. We're an ageing workforce as well as having an ageing population. So workforce development is key. Talent attraction. We need to attract new blood for the future sustainability of our islands. Stark reading, maybe. I always use Iona as a fantastic example of what people can achieve. Iona was brought up, she was care experienced, she left school, she had no qualifications, she felt very alone in the world, and she had no confidence. She was referred to ourselves, and we started work with her on the ESF programme, to barrier removal first, before we moved her onto the EF and then onto the MA. Iona came a long way, and let me tell you, Iona came a long way. The first day, she phoned down and asked her training officer to come up to her house and iron her t-shirt. She learned the hard way and the quick way, but Iona is now a young mum herself, a fantastic young mum, and working towards achieving her degree. So with the right support from the right people and the right infrastructure, it is possible for all of us to achieve. But we can only do that through partnership working. We have to strengthen the local partnerships, and when possible, even work in the same space, which is why the Employability Hub has been developed. We want to take a systems-wide approach to support our communities, and to ensure that no wrong door approach is taken at all times. Within the COAL itself, we have perfected our interdepartmental processes, and we work very much as one department. We're in a formal chartership with Skills Development Scotland. Our Developing the Young Workforce team work endlessly to ensure our young people are informed on their future choices and have the important link with local businesses. And that's getting stronger with the implementation of Ross and his colleagues. The DYW coordinators in our schools is going to be that ever important link for young people to be able to approach them in an informal environment, but to be able to link them up with businesses so much earlier. Early intervention is everything. We do work with the Department of Work and Pensions to ensure that those who are most at risk are supported into employment. We do have the Kickstart programme at the moment, which has had its challenges, but it is giving people the opportunity to move into employment. We do have our key sectors, hospitality, construction, social services, tourism, food and drink, and we design our programmes to ensure we're preparing our young people for these sectors, further and higher education. A good example of that, we've just converted our council cafeteria into a training kitchen. It's to prepare young people who have the most barriers. It gives them that taster of the hospitality and food and drink industry, and we will then be able to progress them further, maybe in the colleges, the course the colleges are putting on, straight into industry or onto a modern apprenticeship programme with ourselves. Canan, Coltar, our language, our communities are everything to us. We do put every single young person that we have on our apprenticeship programme through Gaelic tuition, which is funded by Bordna Gaelic. I think that's ever important in our tourism, hospitality and customer facing sectors, because there's not one person that doesn't step foot on this island, doesn't want a taster of it. It doesn't have to be fluent, it doesn't have to be in depth, but they all want to hear a taster of it. So there's nothing like going in and them even just to be able to give conversational Gaelic. We work very closely with eSchool. That's one thing we've learned over the past 5 years. So we now work through eSchool to support what we call the national offer. So what we've learned in the last few years of delivering foundation apprenticeships, but also delivering digitally and ensuring that the pupil down in Castlebrigg gets the same experience as the pupil in Stornoway. We now want to pass that experience onto all schools across Scotland. So we've signed up to the eSchool national offer to be able to give that, or to give other organisations, other communities and other schools the same experience that we've had. So how are we going to support all this? Well, at the moment, we've implemented the Employability Hub, which really came to fruition over COVID, and we realised we needed that one-stop shop approach. We needed somewhere that businesses could come, that young people could come, that members of the public, parents could come and ask questions in a more informal environment. We sat in the council buildings, we were 6 security doors away from our young people and our participants. They would not come in. So the Employability Hub has been developed to provide that. It's part of our town centre regeneration. We want to keep our islands alive, we want to keep our communities alive, but it's not all about Stornoway. It's about ensuring that whatever we offer in the Employability Hub in Stornoway, that it's replicated, and the services and the advice and the support and guidance can be accessed whether you're in Leverborough or whether you're in South Uist or Barra. So, for us, all this is hugely exciting. We want to be led by you, the business community, but we want to offer a person-centred approach to ensure that every single person that we support gets the right level of support and accreditation at the right time. So that's my rant and my speech. But like I say, we can only do this with your support, your guidance, and we need to be led by you. So happy to take any questions. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I probably have one. Are we tracking numbers, general numbers? How many young people move away?
We work closely with Skills Development Scotland, the schools, and we have evidence which we can take off at the data hub. Sadly, we know that of the percentage that goes away, only about 18 to 20% comes back. We're not.
And what percentage go away?
It differs from year to year. I don't have the percentage this year because we are expecting it to be slightly different, because even though the colleges and universities are starting to open up, they're still not really giving that information about how they're going to deliver. So we are anticipating that more young people will stay on island but still take the university route because of the sheer volume of distance learning, because accreditation is going to change dramatically. Avenues are going to open up that were never available before, because there was a wake-up call within education that it's very possible to deliver to the most remote areas. I do remember a good example of that about a couple of years ago when the graduate apprenticeship was first developed by Skills Development Scotland in partnership with Robert Gordon's University, and they put out an IT qualification. But what they didn't do was they didn't adapt it to meet the distant learning needs. And the first 2 islands that came to them was ourselves and Shetland. Because the more rural you are, the more you crave the same opportunities as if you're in the central belt. So it's a bit like the Castle Bay, Castlemilk scenario. But there is a high percentage do go away every year, but they're going to go away if we don't provide the opportunities for them.
I suppose my question is, if we know the numbers now and we know what the numbers were for my generation, for example, we, looking at see how we're doing, if we're doing any better this generation, as it were.
Yeah, there's sometimes I think it'll probably even out, but it's something we can I'll get some data for you, Michael, and I'll be able to share it with you.
I suppose that's how we know if things are moving or not. It's through the numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about the data.
It is, I'm afraid. Thanks, Diane.
Okay, thank you, Delina. James, do you want to step up next? No, James, can't hear you. You're muted, sir.
Oh, yeah. Delina, would you be able to stop sharing your screen there so that I can? Okay, thank you. So I'll just bring this up now. So I'm going to be talking about how DYW Outer Hebrides can support employers, particularly looking at how we can support employers in the recruitment of new staff. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a lot of talk about the expectations for high levels of youth unemployment. There were suggestions that there'd be huge skill shortages, and these are all issues that were a lot of work went into preparing for them and preparing for how we would counter them. But what we've now seen as businesses have returned to trade, particularly in the hospitality sector, a few other sectors such as aquaculture, is that there's an abundance of jobs and employers are really struggling to recruit the right people into these jobs. So an area where we can help with this is with the advertisement of jobs. So we've got social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We can share job adverts on there. We can help with the creation of job adverts, with the job description, creation of graphics. So that's where we can help on that side. But more than where we can obviously advertise a job, I think it's important to talk about what incentives we can put in place for young people to come into a job. What's going to make them want to go for it? So the most obvious examples of incentives that we can use are pay, fair pay, whether that's the living wage, whether that's the apprenticeship wage, whatever it may be. Regular hours, so trying to avoid 0-hour contracts where possible. I think that's something that should always be avoided, and being honest about the hours that we're offering, particularly to younger people. And contract length, looking at how attractive short-term contracts are. Certainly if we're trying to attract people to move to the island, short-term contracts probably aren't going to do that. And then maybe looking at more what Delina was talking about training, about accreditation, and how we can incorporate that into jobs that we're advertising. So I don't know anyone on the call has been advertising any roles recently, and have you seen a good response to them on social media or on your own websites when the job roles have gone out?
I'll speak for Mary.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
To be honest, we haven't actually advertised an awful lot for the Western Isles in the last few months. But where we have been struggling is in Lochaber area and Argyll area. So we've been working with the young workforce groups in Argyll and Lochaber, and just exactly what you're saying you can do for us. They've been doing sharing and you know, spreading the word for us, and we have had a few applicants, you know, from both. But I think, yeah, like everybody else, we are struggling to recruit. I think it's down to Brexit as well, just and everything opening up again for tourism. So certainly in some areas we're struggling, but so far in the Western Isles we're not doing too badly.
Okay, thanks for that, Jane. Yeah, I think that's an important point, is that the recruitment issues aren't universal across the whole of the United Kingdom, not even across the whole of the Western Isles, and definitely not present in every sector. It's very much location and sector specific, and I think that's where it's important that when we are supporting businesses that we do take that into account, that we treat each case as being different. So another incentive, particularly on the social media side, that we can support with is accompanying jobs that we advertise with case studies. So an example that's been used a lot is the Scottish Salmon Company have been struggling to recruit recently, and they've started to supplement their job adverts with examples of people who have formerly done the jobs, and really looking to market the roles that they're advertising as a route into a career with the organisation and outside the organisation. So this is an area where ourselves we can support businesses. So we can put together case studies, we can promote case studies, and we're always happy to speak to current or former employers on your behalf to get them to tell their story, whether that's by recording them, whether that's by putting it together in a social media post, whatever it may be. And there's plenty of evidence to show that showing young people what they can get out of a job opportunity beyond the pay, beyond the qualification they might get, and the best way to do that is to show them careers that other people that have done that job have gone on to do. So if this is something that's of interest to anyone, then just get in touch with ourselves, whether it's through Ross's email or through the DYW email, which is info@dywouterhebrides.com. So I'll put that in the chat after I've finished here. Then we're always going to be more than happy to support with the creation of these case studies and the job description to go along with them. So there's a couple of examples of good practice with the advertising of jobs. So I won't go through the descriptions just now, as they're quite lengthy, but I'll put these two links in the chat, and feel free to go and have a look at them. So the Temple Cafe in Harris and the North US Distillery. They're two job descriptions that they went down really well on social media, and there was a common theme around the responses to them and why people found them to be so engaging. And I think the most important point on both of these was that they were honest. They didn't try and make the job sound anything that it wasn't. They gave an honest description of the company, of their current operation, of their aims, an honest description of the role, what the individual will be doing, and they went beyond the kind of day-to-day practice and described the other duties in a way that told any applicant exactly what was expected of them. And they in both cases then described the ideal candidate that they wanted. And all they've done in these posts is taken what would normally be a bullet pointed list of requirements for an individual, and they've articulated in a way that's engaging, that's caught the attention of people, and they were both very successful in appointing people to these roles through these methods. So anyone that is planning on writing a job description for to go on Facebook or to go on a website, I'd recommend having a look at these two examples, because they're maybe the best examples of good practice that we've had in the last while locally anyway. So again, I'd just like to open out on this point. So there's we can provide support. We can also look to provide some training if that would be useful. So we can provide training on social media, on good recruitment practices. We can provide support on funding. We can facilitate opportunities for direct engagement with young people, whether that's speaking in schools, whether that's coming to career events that we put on. And as I've said before, we can share with you case studies and best practice examples, or we can help you put them together. So just on that point, if there's if there's any of you who'd be interested in any form of training, any form of formal advice or support in any of these areas, is that something that would be of interest?
Just going to say, we would be very interested in attending any careers fairs or anything like that you're hosting.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that we're moving towards a point now where it shouldn't be too far away where we can have in-person career fairs, and we've got a venue in Stornoway in the town hall where that can certainly be hosted, and I'm sure there'll be similar events that will be hosted in Harris, whether that's in Surrey Scott School or elsewhere, and then on the rest of the islands as well. So I don't know what the situation is just now with Surrey Scott with getting external individuals in. Are we still? Is it another 6 weeks till that decision is reviewed for the schools here?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So that's maybe something that we'll look to do as well going forward. So this is, again, it's something that could be, you know, I've said they're training on social media and recruitment and things like that. That's something that could be a formally arranged event, but it could also be informal. So again, if you've got any questions, or if you'd like us to take on the writing of a job description or the preparation of a social media post or whatever it may be, or you'd like some advice on how to put it together, then just get in touch through email, and there'll always be someone there to support, someone there to give you a bit of advice on it. And then on funding, I think Ross will talk a bit more about this, but through engaging with DYW and the training team as a whole and the Employability Hub, there's a lot of avenues for funding and recruitment support. And again, that's just a case of getting in touch with us, explaining your situation, explaining your needs, and we'll see where we can help you. So moving on now to talk about the Local Employability Partnership. So this is a partnership organisation consisting of a number of organisations, including DYW, Cornell and Shear, SDS, UHI, and what the Western Isles Local Employability Partnership is focusing on at the moment is what I spoke about at the beginning, which is the recruitment crisis that's hitting the islands at the moment. And like I've said, it might not be something that everyone's experienced when advertising jobs. It's not something that's hit every sector, but the sectors it has hit, it's generally speaking been very difficult to get people into post. So what we're looking for here is to develop a website and social media pages that are the one place where people will go for job opportunities. Now, we're not with this, we're not trying to replace existing avenues. We're not trying to replace newspapers and things like that. But what we are trying to do is to have one location where there are voluntary opportunities, where there are apprenticeship opportunities, and where there are job opportunities. Alongside this, what we want to have is we want to have employability advice for the young people. So we want to have CV support and advice. We want to have interview skills. We want to have contact details for all the partners. And we really want to cover all bases in this one website and social media page. So that's something that we're working on just now. So I think that as we're at that early stage of that, if there's anything that anyone feels would be useful in this kind of page, whether it's a particular information on particular funding streams, whether it's particular training sessions that we could put on for young people through this service, whatever it may be, then either you can either contribute now or feel free to email at any point, because as I say, this is still in the early stages of development, so we're at that stage now where we can add or change anything. So I think that's about all I've got to just now. So if there's any questions on any of that, on how we can support employers, how we can engage with employers, and the recruitment process in general, then feel free to ask away. Just close this up.
I just want to add on the careers fair front, we did have, strangely enough, a local employability partnership meeting today, and that came up quite strongly. So we will be looking at, working with the schools to see how quickly we can get that actioned and get physical careers events in place.
Hi, Julie, did you have a question?
My mic was off, sorry. It's more of a statement, really. James, it was really encouraging to see those ads on Facebook for the recruitment for both Temple and for North Uist Brewery, like in the hospitality tourism kind of sector. And,
Sorry, Julie, I lost you there.
Example.
Sorry, Julie, I lost you there. You were just saying the hospitality and tourism sector.
Yeah, so my connection's pretty bad. I mean, it was really more of a statement. It was really encouraging to see examples of the best practice you've seen in a good while, from Temple and from North Uist, and it just takes all the pain out of it, and then you're getting the exact right person that's going to suit your business as well. So it was just more of a point of that, really encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dorina, you would agree that the two of them, you could tell the effort that had gone into it, and I think that prospective employees really appreciate that as well. And it certainly seemed like they took the time to read the full description, and the individuals that they got into post off the back of it, they were absolutely suited to the roles. So like I'm saying, I'll put both those links into the chat, and anyone that wants to have a look at them, they'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. I'm going to hand over to Gemma Smith now, who's going to talk about SDS and their role.
Brilliant, thanks, Ross. Unfortunately, I can't open my wee slides tonight. I didn't have many anyway, so it's absolutely fine. I've moved rooms and it's not uploaded on OneDrive properly, so it's a bit of a shame. So you're just going to have to look at me, unfortunately. So yeah, just want to say thank you very much for inviting me along today. Like I said at the start, I'm Gemma and I'm the careers advisor for City Scott, and I work for Skills Development Scotland, based in Stornoway. And really, I just want to give you a bit of an overview of who Skills Development Scotland are, or SDS as we're more commonly known as. So SDS is the national skills body for Scotland, and we have staff working to support people, businesses and the economy all across Scotland. And we work really closely with our partners, so schools, local authority, colleges, universities, as well as employers and businesses locally. You might already have a bit of an idea of what we do, but I thought it might be good just to quickly explain that a bit more, because some people aren't too sure and they can be quite surprised by what we actually offer. So a lot of people think we only support pupils in secondary schools, but we're actually an all-age service, and we work with people of all ages at different points in their lives. So things like exploring career ideas and options, or helping to support people to plan a way forward, and we can really help people to make informed decisions and take action. And as well as in schools, we offer free and impartial careers information, advice and guidance in our centres. So we've got Stornoway and Benbecula, and we also work in the Lewis Castle College and the wider community as well. The career services that we provide are very much shaped by the government's career information, advice and guidance strategy. So at the start of each business year, Scottish ministers issue us a letter of guidance to STS, and that sets out our key targets, objectives and priorities for the year ahead, and we're obviously required to deliver on those. Our services in schools, they start in primary 7, helping to support that transition into secondary school and introducing career management skills, exploring things like personality, and beginning to really think about different careers and what's available out there. And then that's built on throughout each year through things like group works and individual one-to-one sessions in the senior phase of school. And we do provide a more targeted and intensive support for those who need it as well. And post-school, we've got a targeted service offer again for young people aged 16 to 24. If their care experience, it's up to 26. And we work closely with them and our partners to help young people to develop and build their skills and sort of enable them to enter training, education or employment and be able to really sustain it as well. We work closely with local partners and employers as well, gaining industry insights and key labour market information. For us, labour market information is really pivotal to the work that we do with our customers to help them to make informed career choices. So the world of work is changing fast, and young people and adults really need to be able to be aware of these changes and trends in different learning pathways, employment opportunities, as well as having the skills and attributes and information to really successfully navigate and cope with those changes. The introduction, I think, of the Developing the Young Workforce Coordinator, so Ross's job in Scotland, I think that's really going to help to strengthen those links between employers and pupils, really helping to enhance the knowledge and awareness of pupils about labour market information locally. I just wanted to highlight as well that we've also got a dedicated service within STS specifically for employer and business support. So we've got an employer helpline which provides telephone and web support for employer skills inquiries. So they can help with lots of different inquiries about skills or upskilling in your workplace, and they can assess and refer to appropriate STS teams or partner services as needed. We've got relationship account executives as well who provide skills support for businesses to develop skills that are critical to the Scottish economy. So they support with things like business growth, maximising opportunities with things like work-based learning, so apprenticeships, further education, higher education. And we've also got employer engagement advisors who work with and support employers with skills analysis, workforce planning, and they'll help businesses and employers through action planning aligned to their business, supporting things like recruitment, retention, and developing and upskilling their workforce. I'll stick some details in the chat in a wee minute just about the websites that you can go to have a look for more information about that. We've got a website dedicated to employers to find out more about that, and if you're thinking about apprenticeships and things as well, there's a website for that too, and I'll give you the helpline number. So I really hope that's kind of given you a better idea of STS and some of the ways that we help. I don't want to go into too much detail or bore you all too much tonight. I'm conscious of time, but if anyone's got any questions or anything, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to try and answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, Gemma. That was brilliant. Thank you. All right, so I think it's me next. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about developing young workforce and the Young Persons Guarantee, along with a few other bits that come alongside those things. So first and foremost, developing a young workforce, you may be already aware of some of this, so I apologise in advance if there's things that I'm repeating that you already know, but it's the youth employment strategy that the Scottish Government put in place to better prepare young people for the world of work. Now, the whole idea with that is to try and make sure that young people are coming out of school with the right skills, the right things that they need to be able to be successful when they join the workforce. It's led by employers. There's 21 DYW regional groups across Scotland, and as I think Delina already mentioned, there's this DYW coordinators, including myself, in all the Western Isles secondary schools. So we work together very closely and try and support each other to achieve our aims. Now, DYW itself is very much the bridge between schools and businesses and organisations in the local area and beyond as well. So it's very much about supporting each other, and the whole aim of it is to try and make sure that businesses and organisations locally can have an input into what they would like young people coming out of the schools to be the skills they've got and the knowledge they've got to be able to join their workforce and be successful, as I said earlier. And it's very much about, alongside that, inspiring young people to be thinking about what they want to do. So not just in terms of giving them a few different options, but actually doing practical activities, actually involving them in workshops and various different things that we can do in partnership between businesses and organisations locally and the school, and try and make sure that they can come together and get an idea about what different roles, different skill sets they need to go into different jobs. And certainly locally, it's about making sure that they understand the breadth and depth of jobs available, because as we've already talked about, with the number of young people leaving the islands and the issues that brings, it's very important for us to make sure that that young people are fully aware of the different things that they can do locally, and just get an idea about this, and get an idea if they like those sort of things as much as anything, because a lot of the time, young people, and I think back to when I was a young person, you don't necessarily have a good idea about what a job involves, what sort of things you need to be doing as part of the job. And so the whole idea is to try and make sure that young people do get that idea, that do get a real picture of what they're going to be doing, what different jobs involve, and what different career paths involve, and to make sure that they have a real clear idea about those things, so that they know what sort of things they're interested in when they come to leaving school and come to making decisions about further education and things like apprenticeships even, and things like that. So it's very important to that we're engaging in that way, and as I say, I can't stress this enough, businesses are so important to that. Businesses and organisations locally working in partnership, it's something that is hugely important. And I've already talked about the importance to have this with that side of things. So in terms of the sort of things we're talking about, there's lots of different things that already have taken place, and some of you might have already been involved in different DYW events. We've talked about things like careers fairs that we do in partnership with SDS, visits, activity days. We're looking at in Surrey Scott, looking at towards COP26, and something that we're hoping to do across the Western Isles, if we can get it organised, is to work alongside businesses that have a green focus and look at things like recycling and things like that with regards to COP26. And the idea is to have a sort of Dragon's Den kind of competition across the islands, so that we can work together with local businesses to give that experience and that understanding of how those sorts of things impact on business decisions, and then get the young people to actually think about developing their own business and coming up with ideas for their own businesses and their own products that can be using that information. So that's the sort of things we're talking about. But as well as the sort of bigger events, there's also the opportunity for local employers and businesses to come in and work alongside classes and support the education of certain subjects. So there's lots of different things, and ultimately, I suppose my message with this is that there's a lot of flexibility. So it may be that for some people, for some businesses, so some organisations, it may be that you'd like to get involved with certain aspects. So, for example, you might want to offer work experience, or you might want to offer placements, or you know, mock interviews, or something like that. Or some people might be more keen to come in and work alongside young people. So there's lots of different things, and it's about having that conversation and trying to make sure that we're you know, we discuss what sort of things you'd like to get involved in, and you know, what sort of things we can put on and to support young people. Moving on to Young Persons Guarantee, this is the kind of overall statement from Scottish Government. So we will guarantee to every young person aged between 16 and 24 in Scotland the opportunity, based on their own personal circumstances and ambitions, of going to university or college, an apprenticeship programme, training, fair employment, doing work experience, or participating in a formal volunteering programme. And this is very much in response to COVID, as you probably can guess. It's 16 to 24-year-olds were very much the hardest hit by COVID, and economically, I should say, they were the hardest hit. And so the idea with the Young Persons Guarantee is try and support young people who might have been affected by the economic impact of COVID, to support them into those different positive destinations. Now, what the government are asking is for employers and organisations to sign up to offer support. Now, there is a pro forma document that's in the chat that you should be able to see. I'm going to try and be brave here and actually share my screen so I can show you it. But that's probably a dangerous thing to be doing. So hopefully you can see that. So this is the Young Persons Guarantee pro forma, and this is what the government are actually asking different organisations and businesses to sign up to. Now, the important thing with this is that I think it's fair to say that anybody who's previously been involved in schools work, you know, working alongside schools to support things like work experience, working alongside to do things like workshops or mock interviews, any of those sorts of things, anything like that you'd be prepared to go into, you can sign up to this document. And there's a lot of questions on here and a lot of things that are asked for, but it's important to state that you don't necessarily have to sign up to every single one of these things. So, for example, you don't have to, it's perfectly acceptable if you don't offer modern apprenticeships to put 0 there. It's about what you currently offer and what you're currently prepared to offer. You don't have to offer something new to sign up to this document. It's just saying that you're prepared to work with a local school, local DYW coordinator, in your case will be me, to actually support and invest in these sort of areas. So so please do have a look through that. And as I say, it looks kind of it can look a little bit daunting, but it's actually, when you read through it, it's actually very simple to fill in, and is a great thing to join in. I'm just going to try and go back to my idea.
Just remember, Ross is always there to support you to complete them as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out, Delina, because that is very true. If anybody is keen to get involved in that, I'm more than happy to meet with you and sit down and support with that. So I think we've talked through all those things. As I said, you don't need to offer all 5 asks to be able to sign up. It's just about what you are prepared to offer, what you currently offer. So these are the 5 asks that are involved. It's about preparing young people for the world of work. So that's things like coming into school and doing talks potentially, or things along those lines, potentially work experience. Some of these are more sort of business focused. So things like Create would be looking at potential things like apprenticeships or new job opportunities potentially. And likewise with Invest, that's about investing in your own, your workforce, and things like that. And likewise with the Invest as well. Sorry, I don't know what's happened there. I think that's potentially gone wrong somewhere. And then ensure a work environment which supports all young people and provides fair work. So those are the things that are asked for, and as I say, please do look through that document. And there's also a document that goes alongside it that gives information and support as to how you fill that in, and gives you ideas as to what sort of things they're asking for in those different sections. So if you are interested in working alongside developing your workforce, then please do have a look at that and see if you're happy to sign up to that. Moving on to the employer recruitment incentive. Now, this is very much part of the Young Persons Guarantee, and it kind of, if you were to apply for this, I think it would go alongside the 5 asks as well that we just talked about. Now, this is something that's aimed at helping young people with barriers to employment into a job, and the idea is that there's a certain fund that you can apply for. Now, you can potentially, depending on the hours you're prepared to offer a young person and the wage you're prepared to offer that young person, you can actually apply for up to £6,000 to support that new job. Now, again, I've put the documents for this in the chat. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, then please do look at those documents and have a look through. If there's something you want to discuss in greater detail, because I'm not going to go into this in massive detail just now, because it might not be relevant to everybody, but if you want to discuss this further, then please do let me know, and I'm happy to again meet with you and chat it through in more detail to see if that's something that's appropriate. Just alongside the two, there's 2 main documents: the application form, and there's also a sort of help sheet that gives you information about the actual employer recruitment incentive and the background to it, and what things would you'd need to do as part of that. But there's also a scoring matrix which we actually use to see whether your application meets the criteria. So I've included that, so you're kind of very clear as to what sort of things we're looking for as part of the application. And as it says at the bottom, you can actually apply for funding for up to 2 jobs if that's something you'd like to do. I kind of when we were going through the Young Persons Guarantee, talked about volunteering. Now, this is something that I've got to be honest, has not come up in Harris as yet, because there's not been any young people that have been needing to sort of look at this. But one of the things that we're looking at very much with this is the Saltire Award, to see if to support young people in volunteering, and to make sure that they're getting the background and support to kind of carry that volunteering through and get something recognised at the end of it. So there's some information about that there. I'm not going to go into massive amounts of detail with that again, but that's something we're very much looking at the moment. And if there's other opportunities or things that you can think of as individual businesses and organisations, please do speak to me about this, because this is something that may well come up in the future, and it will be useful to know where this can be used, and where we can support different organisations. So that's a lot of talking that I've just been doing, but one of the things that I wanted to sort of ask was, some of the questions here, just to go through, what are the biggest issues that you face regarding finding new employees at the moment? I know we've talked, James has talked about the fact that at the moment there is certainly a bit of an employment crisis, and certainly at the moment I know that looking around Harris, there certainly seems to be very few young people who are not in a positive destination and not in employment or are in school at the moment. So what are the biggest issues that you face in terms of trying to appoint new employees?
Ross, it's Nigel. I guess it's probably affordable accommodation. I don't know if you're asking for opinions there, but that's one of the big issues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally understand. Is that so? Definitely accommodation. I think we can all understand that, and certainly, and I can think of, and I'm sure everybody can think of different situations they've seen locally on social media where people are trying to find accommodation, and how difficult it's been. And absolutely, I think you're absolutely right, Nigel. Is there anything else that has come up that is a particular issue?
Sorry, I've got somebody hungry behind me. Yeah, Nigel, I would totally agree. This is the 3rd meeting I've been in today, and the 3rd time that affordable housing has come up. We're well aware there's a lot of new money coming into the island for affordable housing. It's just, I'm hopeful, as we all are, that there will be changes in policy so that housing will be earmarked to more rural areas.
Yeah.
Thanks, Selena. So moving on, are there any particular skills and traits that you're looking for? So, you know, when we're sort of working with young people in the school, when we're sort of kind of looking at what sort of workshops and things we're putting on, what sort of traits, what sort of skills are you looking for to, and what traits do you think are the hardest to find locally in terms of new employment?
Sorry, I'm going to actually have to jump off the call just in a second, but I can see a great benefit. Unfortunately, Donald and Sarah haven't been able to join us tonight. Sarah works in HR and Donald is our business development and learning manager. But if it's okay with you, Ross, if we can connect sometime after this call, yourself, Delina, James and Gemma, I think there's so many opportunities that we can work with together with Maui and with yourselves.
That sounds awesome.
In other areas, we have an SBQ in aquaculture. We're working with other colleges and things in other areas. So maybe that's something that you'd discuss with Donald, for example. So yeah, I look forward very much to be able to discuss further. But I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to jump off the call now.
No, that's totally understandable. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Nice to meet you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to the next question, are there things that you'd like to see young people learning or skills that you'd like to see develop prior to leaving school? And is there anything else that you'd like to feedback about anything regarding these things that we've just been talking about? Any questions? Anything else you'd like to state or suggest?
Ross, was all your questions in the survey?
Say again, sorry?
Was all your questions in the survey?
There are similar questions on the survey, yeah. So I was hoping that
it might be good just if you set up individual meetings with the organisations and you can have more of a generic chat on what's aligned, what we need to do to align our services to their needs.
Yes, no, I think that's right, absolutely. So let me just move on, and so just in terms of what next, obviously I've talked about the Young Person's Guarantee. Please, if you feel able to do that, then sign up to that. Have a look through the documents and see, and likewise with the ERI information, if you please do have a look through that and see if that's something that's relevant to you. If there are any businesses or organisations that you're involved with locally, please do spread the word, share what we've been talking about tonight. And as I say, hopefully I'm planning to share this recording so that because I know that there are quite a few people who have not been able to attend for whatever reasons tonight. So hopefully that, even though they're not being able to attend, we'll still be able to share this information with them. But if there are people you do know, please do share this so that they can get that information too. And if there are young people in the area that you know about that in the 16 to 24-year-old age group, please do let people know that they can be referred or self-referred through to the Young Person's Guarantee through to me to get some support to support them into a positive destination. So that is the end of that. I'm going to hand over now to Adam, who's going to talk next. Let me just get back to the point where I can close this. So Adam is from City Scott, and he's going to just talk briefly about that.
Yeah, I'm going to talk very briefly because there's been a lot of information there tonight, a lot of good information, and it just shows the breadth and depth of what's been worked on in DYW across the authority. And I think I can quite confidently say that as an authority, we're doing extremely well. I think the key thing for us is that we all share the vision that we want to better prepare our young people for the world of work, and that's why we're on this meeting tonight. And I know that's why some of you are already involved with working with the school. And by that I mean that as employers, that you see yourself as co-designers or co-investors and not just customers. So kids go to school from nursery age right through to 18, come out of school, and then they get a job. But actually, we want to develop a real culture of partnership between the employers and education. And yeah, so we have these relationships in place just now, but we will continue to develop them. And the question has already been asked: what can you do? What can you offer? How can you support? Some examples have been given of that. Actually, either by offering work placements, which are actually offered twice in secondary school, in S3 and S6, and we also do bespoke work placements. So we might approach a company or organisation and ask them if they can help us out. DYW has been going for 6 years, I think now, and it's building momentum, and definitely now that we have Ross in post, that I think is going to really help us improve the connections and the coordination between us as a school and the employers and the organisations. But my plea would be just how can you help support us? And it's already been mentioned, coming into school to do presentations. We've done master classes in the primary where people teach new skills to groups, pupils. Careers conventions, we're actually due one in November of this year. Whether or not we can go with November, we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully we can. Coming into school and developing that link. I'm not sure if anyone is aware that actually the work placement standard, every young person is entitled to a work placement, and there are entitlements in there and expectations for schools, expectations for parents, and also expectations for employers. So pupils are entitled to that, and so there's a set of standards to do with the work placements. And there's also a set of standards to do with career education in general. And so what we want our children to learn, what skills do we want them to have by the end of their schooling? And that's things like, can they identify the skills that they need for a certain career or job, and can they map that? So I'm not going to go on at length. There's been a lot of information in there tonight. And I just look forward, to working further with you as employers or organisations. Any questions?
Thanks very much, Adam. And can I say a massive thank you to all of you for everything and for taking part tonight. It's been really good to hear people's opinions and to share some of the stuff that's going on, as we said already. So thank you again, and I'll let you go and get on with the rest of your evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross and team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you. Thank you.